century.
Here's hoping your
Blog
health
Talk Radio.
South Florida's Health and Wealth Radio Network. AM 1470 WWNN, Pompano Beach.
AM 1470 with even more of what you're looking for. Join Bob Diamond for the new Diamond in the Rough, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons at 3:30, right here on South Florida's Health and Wealth Network. AM 1470 with even more information you can use. Join pharmacist and educator Jerry Hickey for the Invite Health Radio Show at a new time, Monday through Friday mornings at 10 a.m. Tune in for the latest information on nutrition and cutting-edge solutions to your most pressing health problems. It's the Invite Health Radio Show with pharmacist and educator Jerry Hickey at a new time, Monday through Friday mornings at 10 a.m. right here on AM 1470 WNN, South Florida's all-new Health and Wealth Network.
Good day, Jim Newcomer from Midas Resources, May 20th, 2011. Gold opened this morning at $14.96.10. A 1-ounce gold coin can be purchased for $15.34.18, $7.67.09 for a half ounce, or $3.83.55 for a quarter ounce. That's $15.34.18, $7.67.09, and $3.83.55.
The Constitution and the Bill of Rights have been reduced to old relics politicians ignore, trample with their outlandish, overreaching policies. Your support for the Campaign for Liberty stands in the way of this insidious process. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. I have teamed up with the Campaign for Liberty to offer the authentic proof quarter-ounce pure gold coin. For only $440 plus shipping, Midas will donate $100 to this incredible organization. Help fight big government by ordering your gold coin at 800-686-2237. You get to win twice by owning gold and fighting the overreaching government. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
AM 1470 with even more information you can use. Are you suffering with chronic pain? Tune in for No Bones About It with Dr. Alvin Stein. You'll learn non-invasive techniques that can help you get rid of your pain without the use of harmful drugs or surgery. That's No Bones About It with Dr. Alvin Stein. Tuesday mornings at 11, right here on AM 1470 WNN, South Florida's Health and Wealth Network.
Happy, healthy, and wealthy. Follow the American dream. On South Florida's AM 1470 WNN.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. This is the Holistic Lifestyles Radio Show, brought to you by Holistic Lifestyles Radio Incorporated. Join us every day on AM 1470 WNN, South Florida's Health and Wealth Network. For more information about the show and our sponsors, be sure to visit our website, HolisticLifestylesRadio.com. That's HolisticLifestylesRadio.com. You can also find us on our Twitter podcast, Facebook, and BlogTalkRadio.com. Now, today's program.
Hey, welcome. Of course, I'm John Hollis, and you're listening to the Holistic Lifestyles Radio Network right here on, of course, our favorite radio station, WNN 1470 AM. And, of course, we're in today with the Legal Hour with Trip Bechert. All you have to do, if you want to find anything that we do on the Legal Hour, is put the Legal Hour into your browser, and it will come up everywhere. Just about every past show we've ever done with Trip is right there. You can also go to HolisticLifestylesRadio.com. On the right-hand side, under navigations, you can click on, of course, the Trip Bechert, the Legal Hour with Trip Bechert, Bechert & Associates, and it will open up there, and you got some information there. And, of course, his mothership, the mothership of PompanoAttorney.com. PompanoAttorney.com, and, of course, Trip Bechert has been doing law for almost 2 decades now, and working diligently on carrying a lot of hope to families at certain times that don't have hope. And what are we talking about? We're talking about the family law aspect of it. You know, when you start looking at family law, you start looking at Rockers in Recovery and the Holistic Lifestyles Radio Show and all of the rest of the facets of problems that occur with people with addiction. We all know that a large amount of those problems stem from legal issues?
Well, yeah, I mean, people when they get sober, their life doesn't automatically get better. There's a lot of wreckage that has to be dealt with, and it stems from family law issues. It deals with all the financial bridges that you've burned, and we deal with a lot of those issues in our law firm. We help folks with contract disputes, with disputes with respect to their marriage and whatnot. And I meant to ask you about this. People are always welcome to send questions to me via, SouthFloridaAttorney.com or PompanoAttorney.com. They can go on and just send a question via that. But is there a way that they can ask a question so we can address that on future shows?
All they have to do is just send any information to John@RockersInRecovery.com. And any question that you might have, we'll answer it.
Yeah, because I'm sure that questions come up from time to time, and we would like to be able to respond to them and let them know that we're here and we're able to help you with these type of legal questions that have come up in your life, especially with people in recovery. Like you said at the beginning, when you get sober, a lot of times it's going to take a long time for the healing process to take place between folks that are married, financial, partnerships, stuff like that.
The good news about this, folks, is that it is anonymous, so you don't have to put your name. You can just put the question, because a lot of times people get, scared off because they think they're going to be mentioned in something. We don't have to mention you. We would just, talk about that this question was asked and what the answer would be. So you're more than welcome to send it to, of course, John@RockersInRecovery.com, so that way we can get it into the mix every week.
Or they can ask a question, and I'll be happy to just respond to them personally. It doesn't really matter. I have no problem with that, because like I told you before, we're there to help. We will give people a free consultation. If they want to come in and talk to us, that's what it's all about.
It's funny, because when you start looking at all of the different questions, and here's the amazing part. I mean, it's nonstop with me. I get phone calls from people in regards to legal issues. Me. Now, hey, listen, I know you have, Trip Bechert that's on your show with you. Let me ask you a legal question.
You're my attorney via proxy.
Listen, here's Trip's phone number. Give him a call.
Give us a call.
But the amazing part is how many people, because there is such fear, will not pick up that phone. I had somebody call me 3 times asking me a question, and I kept telling them, call Trip, call Trip, call Trip. And then finally they made a phone call to you, but it was like, Well, you had referred a case to me recently, and the guy came to me, and he had a particular problem, and he was very concerned about what was going on and how he was going to deal with it. And I spoke to a friend of his, and that friend let me know that, oh, yeah, he told me that it wasn't as bad as he thought. Well, I'm not the dentist. I'm not going to pull your teeth. This is something where you cannot stick your head in the sand and expect your legal problems to go away. They will not go away. They just get worse as they fester. And the reality is I can usually help at the beginning stages, but people come to me after their house is in foreclosure. There's already been a summary judgment, and there's been a sale date set, and then they expect me to work miracles. And I've told you this before. I'm a good attorney. I'm a lousy magician. So I mean, it just takes a bit of time to get some of these things resolved. One of the things, and it's funny that you talk this way, because let's think about it. How many people, myself included, when you first come in, you're in a rush. I mean, when you first come into recovery, or if you're in any type of a legal issue, the first thing that happens is you get hit with the paperwork. You sit with the paperwork and you stare at it and you try to figure it out yourself. It's like, I'm going to go in and do brain surgery and, I'm a talk show host. How does that work? It doesn't work. You know what I mean? So now I sit with that paperwork, and how long do I sit with that paperwork? It could be, a month, because I figure, if I just leave it alone, it'll go away.
Well, what's frustrating for me is that,
maybe they don't mean it.
It's not like I am charging you to come tell you what you need to do to resolve this.
Correct.
This is something you come in. It's a free consultation. It's not like you're going to get charged for me to tell you how to solve it.
They're going to charge you. You're going to charge them $500 for your hour.
No,
it doesn't work that way.
I'm just telling them, look, this is what you've got in front of you. These are your options. If you want to hire me to resolve by one of the options, that's great. But if you don't want, there's no obligation. I'm not going to, Jesse James you at the door. Just, take it, for what it is, and then you'll know what you have to do to get it resolved. But don't, like you said, just stare at the paper thinking it's going to go away or get better, because it won't. It just gets worse.
Here's one of the things that I have appreciated through, the time that I've been in recovery over the last 5 years, that, things do work themselves out, and you have to have the help to do that. See, it doesn't work itself out by osmosis, so to speak. I'm not going to sit in a chair and it's just all going to magically disappear. And you have to work diligently on those things. And it's about cleaning up the wreckage of our past. And it's about dealing with those issues. At the same time, the norm out there, the normal person who's driving down the street right now, that, is everybody's prone to fear. Everybody's prone to anxiety. Everybody's prone to those things. So when you get that paperwork, it might be from the ex-wife, or it might be from the mortgage company, or it might be from, the ticket agency or whatever, whoever it may be that has a legal ramification, for us to think that we're going to sit there and find a loophole in that, or be, as they would say in my case, a jailhouse lawyer, it's insane. It's insanity. So
well, people are thinking right now that the foreclosure system is still as backlogged as it was. They're filing as many cases as they ever were, and there is a certain degree of delay in the time in which the banks are actually being able to put your house on the steps for sale, but it's much quicker than it was 2 years ago, and it's only going to get quicker as they do more and more of these. They have perfected.
Well, they added more people to the system.
They added more people. They have a designated judge in Broward. They have designated systems in all of the counties now, and it's important that people respond to it, because there are certain legal rights that you have that you will waive if you simply sit on your hands. The worst thing in the world is for me to have a client come to me when they've done nothing, and for me to tell them, if you would only come to me sooner, I could have helped you.
Yeah, I have to be in court tomorrow. Can you be with me?
Yeah, and even if I can be with them in court tomorrow, more often than not, they've waived all of their defenses because they've allowed the case to lapse into a default or into a default judgment, where there's very little for me to do, and the courts are really not sympathetic to somebody who sits on their hands for 6 months, 60 days, 90 days, whatever, when they have the ability to just scribble on a sheet of paper, this is not true. I mean, anything that you file in the courthouse is considered an answer. That will stop at least some of it. But you need to go talk to somebody, whether it's me or somebody else, just to get an idea of what you have to do to help yourself.
And I'm glad that we're talking, but especially the foreclosure aspect of it too, because there's a lot of older people that are out there now that are being slammed with this, and they made some, maybe bad choices on refis and things like that. They didn't realize that, they were going to have an additional arm coming due. They didn't realize, and a lot of it, predatory lending comes into it to a certain degree.
Absolutely.
How does, when you have the older folks out there in predatory lending, how does that all kind of mix in with the courts and the actual foreclosure system?
Well, in certain cases, for instance, legal aid is an avenue that's available to some of the elderly folks in our population. When houses are being foreclosed upon and you're dealing with the elderly, there are certain remedies available to the elderly. Legal aid's got some very fine lawyers, but legal aid is like every other publicly funded agency or agency that's funded by donations, as it were. They're overworked. They have a tremendous caseload, and it's so difficult for them to really put the attention sometimes that some folks actually need. And it's very difficult. I was in mediation the other day. I was the actual mediator in the foreclosure proceedings. The bank was there, and the folks that were being foreclosed upon were 81 and 70, and they had a legal aid attorney. And the bank simply just didn't want to do anything for them. And it's very, very difficult. They denied their modification application, and they said, we're just proceeding as forward. What are these folks left with? Well, there are remedies available to you, and it's just important that you get to somebody that's going to be able to spend the time to help you out with that.
Let's talk about some of the myths.
Okay. Okay.
Because, there's myths out there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I have a homestead property.
Right. Well, homestead is not going to save you from a foreclosure. The only thing that a homestead saves you from is from creditors. Okay. When somebody gets a judgment against you, they cannot foreclose upon your home because they won a legal lawsuit against you. But if you fail to pay the bank, or you fail to pay your homeowners association, or you fail to pay your taxes, you can lose your home. It's very simple.
So homesteaded doesn't mean nothing when it comes to that aspect.
No, homestead is to protect you against your creditors. If you had run up a credit card bill, or you had a failed business and you got sued not only from a corporate perspective, but you got dragged into it personally, you would be protected by your homestead. If you were driving your automobile and you happen to, unfortunately, knock wood, this doesn't happen to anybody, you happen to kill another driver, and your insurance only covered so much, but there was a judgment awarded by the court in excess of that insurance policy, then again, you would be protected from losing your home as a result of that.
Now, you'd never be able to sell that home without satisfying that judgment.
Correct. In a lot of instances, you're going to have to pay off those judgments. But the reality is they can't kick you out on the street like they can if you don't pay the bank or your taxes or your homeowners association.
The other question that I have as far as the homeowners and foreclosure market is concerned, when you deal with a foreclosure and you get your paperwork in front of the foreclosure people, does that immediately go on like your TRW? Does that go immediately to your, well,
you got to remember that
you're going to be 30, 60, 90 days behind on all of that stuff.
More often than not, when all of your payment history is reported automatically. So before it even goes to the courthouse steps and they file an actual lawsuit against you to foreclose on your property, they've already wrecked your credit. Okay. So you're already looking at a diminished credit score by the time you get to that point.
Now, with a bankruptcy, on a bankruptcy, you go into your bankruptcy court and you file your house as part of your assets. Can you keep your house if you declare bankruptcy?
No.
Okay.
No. Unfortunately, the bankruptcy proceedings will, in certain circumstances, stall the foreclosure proceedings. It will give you additional time, but it will not write off or discharge the debt of a mortgage on your home. That's a misnomer. That will not happen. A lot of folks believe that they can file bankruptcy and they can. No, it won't happen like that.
Okay. So, and again, these are all the things that when you get the paperwork, you're sitting and you're thinking. But you're not calling anybody to find out the answers.
But what bankruptcy does do, and again, I'm not a bankruptcy lawyer, and you really need to consult a bankruptcy lawyer to determine this, but more often than not, what bankruptcy does do is it allows you to discharge a number of pending debts that you would otherwise be using your income on to satisfy, so now you can redirect those payments toward your mortgage, and you're able to better save your house.
So it can be a tool.
It can be a tool. It's obviously a tool, but you need to kind of work at all of these things kind of at the same time, and you need to be able to kind of do them, sooner rather than later. You can't wait, again, until the very last minute to try to file bankruptcy thinking it's going to save you.
As, after 2 decades of doing what you've done. And do. Have you found that, what is the percentage, if you had to pick a percentage out of the air, what would be the percentage of the people that wait till the last minute?
Well, I would say it's well over 90%. People by nature are simply, they either don't have the money, so they use that as an excuse. They're scared to death. They use that, they use that reason, and it is a petrifying thing if you're not at all familiar with the legal system. They simply have been told things that aren't true by others, so they again wait. And unfortunately, people by nature are procrastinators. Why deal with it today if it's really not on the front burner? And sometimes they don't realize that they need to do things today that will affect it 30 days from now, and that can have an impact down the road. And simply because something's not due today, if you don't act in some fashion, it will become a problem or more of a problem that you can't fix down the road.
if you're listening right now and you have any type of these scenarios, or maybe you know somebody that does, again, PompanoBeachAttorney.com is where you want to go.
PompanoAttorney.com or SouthFloridaAttorney.com.
Okay,
or they go on to Rockers in Recovery and they can find our links there, or they can post a question on Rockers in Recovery or one of our websites. But feel free to give us a call.
I love it. You can also tune us in at WWNN 1470 AM every day at 2:00.
Now, are you streaming live right now?
I'm streaming live.
So how do they find
it? WNN, you can click there, and you can go to Rockers in Recovery, and you can click Listen Live. It's a beautiful thing.
So either way, they can stream live.
You're everywhere.
They get out of their car, they want to hop on the computer.
It's an amazing thing, because I'm glad you brought this up. On the concert on the 28th that you're one of the sponsors of?
Correct.
We are going to be streaming from 1 o'clock in the afternoon until 7 o'clock that night, live video stream all day long. So even if you're out on a cruise ship, you can actually go to computer and watch the show live right at rockersinrecovery.com.
Excellent.
He's ready to go. You can watch the video. You can see Ricky getting crazy. We're going to go out for a break. We'll come back right after this message.
Excellent.
Free concert. Rockers in Recovery Memorial Day Weekend Concert, May 28th, 1:30 to 6:30 p.m., featuring Ricky Byrd, guitarist of the NYC Hit Squad and formerly of Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, along with Kason Sultan, bassist of Todd Rundgren and Utopia, Mick Jagger and Celine Dion, along with 3 other great bands, Johnny B and the Road Dogs, Keep Coming Back Band, and Rhetoric. Come out and join us at the First Step Sober House Memorial Day Free Concert at 450 Southwest 2nd Street, Pompano Beach. To find out more, go to rockersinrecovery.com or call 877-799-8773.
My name is Charles Bechert. If you or a loved one has been injured in an accident due to the negligence of another, care enough to hire Bechert Associates to protect your rights. We are an AV-rated law firm and have 45 years of combined experience. We are all former prosecutors and have all worked for the insurance companies, so we know what they're up to. They have their attorneys, and so should you. When involved in an accident, remember, you may be entitled to $10,000 in medical or lost wages under your PIP policy. In addition, you may receive payments for your pain, suffering, or for the suffering of a loved one. Contact us at 954-941-8363 or visit us on the web at southfloridaattorney.com.
The hiring of an attorney is an important decision that should not be based solely upon advertising. Ask for free written information about the firm's qualifications and experience. Are you ready to explode your business? Then you are ready to take advantage of the massive marketing power of the Holistic Lifestyles Radio Network. Advertise your business, product, or service with one of the most powerful multimedia platforms on the planet. With more than 300,000 online listeners, 30 social media outlets, and a booming 15 hours of live programming on South Florida's 50,000-watt mega giant, AM 1470 WNN. Your business will be exposed to hundreds of thousands of active, progressive consumers hungry for your products and services. You'll be featured on blogs, live streams, social media, at live events, and on hundreds of archived podcasts, including Rockers in Recovery, the East Coast music scene, Defending Your Money, and dozens more. Plus, prime-time national exposure during major festivals from Las Vegas to Boston and the Florida Keys. Get ready to take your business to the next level and jumpstart your branding strategy. Advertise your events, products, and services on the Holistic Lifestyles Radio Network. Call now for special discounted packages. 877-799-8773. That's 877-799-8773. Or visit holisticlifestylesradio.com.
Attention, the 4th annual 12-Step Music Fest is coming November 3rd through the 6th in Sugarloaf Key, Florida. 4 days of music and fun with 12 musical acts along with the Rockers in Recovery Supergroup featuring Ricky Byrd, guitarist formerly of Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, Liberty DeVito, formerly of Billy Joel, Woody Geisman of the Del Fuegos, Kason Sultan of Todd Rundgren and Utopia, Christine Ullman of the Saturday Night Live Band, and 4 more to be announced by September. Find out more about this sober Woodstock in Sugarloaf Key by joining rockersinrecovery.com or by calling 877-799-8773.
You are listening to the Holistic Lifestyles Radio Show, brought to you by Holistic Lifestyles Radio Incorporated. For more information about the show and our sponsors, be sure to visit our website, holisticlifestylesradio.com. That's holisticlifestylesradio.com. Now back to today's show.
Hey, welcome back. Of course, I'm here with our other host for every Friday, Trip Bechert. Trip, thanks for coming in.
Hey,
and,
great.
Thanks for being a part of the Holistic Lifestyles Radio Network. South Florida is a better place because of legal issues, because Trip is in the mix. And, of course, I say that because I like Trip, but I also know that he does a great job when he works with people. But most importantly, you can go to southfloridaattorney.com. You can also go to pompanoattorney.com.
Correct.
And check out both of those websites, please. You know, here's the amazing part. When we started this conversation here at the beginning of the hour, we started to talk about, of course, people that want to hide their heads in the sand. And the end result is of the first segment of the show, we were discussing all the way up to the end, the fear, the anxiety, but we were giving a most important aspect of it, that there's solutions behind this. There are solutions. Now, one of the things that I want to talk about, and I think it's important, is that when you look at the fact that people, and let's not even look at the legality end of it. Let's look at the emotional aspect of it. When you don't have things weighing on you and you don't have those things, it tends to make your day a whole lot better. That's the first thing. The second thing is that if you're clearing out those things, or at least you know that it's being handled, it's going to take that thought off your head. Now, emotionally, you deal with some really trying emotional things. Let's look at the family component. When you
people are in a family situation just from the get-go. A lot of people come to me and say, you know, I'm just not ready to file a divorce yet, because that they know that there's going to be a certain amount of pain level that they're going to have to go through in order to get to the other end of this. And it's very, very, very difficult for them to even pull the trigger. So a lot of times it's a waiting game. No, he's going to file a divorce. No, she's going to file a divorce. And they get into this rut, and they end up living with one another, and their life becomes even more miserable, and then the kids suffer as a result of this, simply because neither one of them wants to take the step necessary to move forward.
Do you remember War of the Roses?
Absolutely.
Do you remember Danny DeVito?
Absolutely.
When he's telling the story to the guy, and he turns around and the guy leaves. You know what I mean? Do you find that, you know, there's that hesitation because of that?
Yes, and you know, it's funny, John, because a lot of people come to my office and they come in, and then 6 months later, I haven't heard from them, I haven't seen them again, and then they reappear in my office and like, okay, I'm ready. Something has happened, something has forced the issue, or they simply have had the time to mentally prepare to go through the process. But the reality is once I get them going, they realize it's not as bad as they thought it was going to be. And if you have the right approach, it doesn't have to be horrible. Same thing with business dissolutions. Business dissolutions are just like partnerships. You know, a lot of times people are in partnerships with people and it's simply not working. They're losing money or they're not happy with one another and they need to part ways. And instead of having some knockdown, drag-out fight in court where they deplete the rest of the assets that are left in the corporation, they can usually try to work it out. One of the other guys buys the other guy out, whether it's over time or whether it's immediately, and they can resolve these issues. But if you don't sit down and deal with it, it'll never get resolved. So it's very important that they do that.
You know, I look at the whole process of the divorce aspect and the family aspect when you start bringing the kids into it. The kids, the emotional aspect of this thing, you know, when you start dealing with the fear, it seems like it's going to be a big fear day today because fear really stunts us from doing anything that is, you know, positive for ourselves. We end up sitting and not doing anything. In return, what do? We end up waiting for this magical thing to appear. Hey, listen, you know, I'm a true believer. I don't know about you, but I know for me, I'm a true believer in the power of prayer. I really do. I believe that. Why do I believe it? Because I know that I'm the guy that has to have the shovel to go dig away at the mountain, but the prayer gives me the strength to get through it. So if I'm not doing anything and I'm just expecting it to all go away, that fear is going to just keep me paralyzed. So in the meantime, when we deal with family, when you start dealing with the kid aspect of it, and you have a 9 or 10-year-old kid, and they have to make a decision which one they're going to go with, mommy or daddy, are they put in that position now?
No. That's something that you see on the TV shows. It's one of those again, another myth. But before I get into that particular response, I wanted to just touch on something you just brought up. It's important that people put effort behind their faith. All the faith in the world does not do anything unless you put your daily practices into motion. And it's really important that people do have faith, but that they follow through on it with some hard work and with some persistence and with some effort, because it's important that we all try. Nobody's asking you to be perfect. Everybody's just asking you to try. Pick up the shovel. Try. You may not get very far the first day, and then you may not get very far the second day, but you're going to get somewhere. You're going to be moving forward. But if you sit on your duff and you don't do anything expecting your life to get better, it won't get better. It just simply won't. It can't. All the faith in the world, it won't happen. But when you talk about your folks and whether the children have to choose, fortunately we do not put children in that predicament. It's not in their best interest. It's not in the best interest of somebody that is emotionally undeveloped to have to make a decision of that magnitude. And that's typically why we involve guardian ad litem to come in and do an assessment of the parents, the situation. They speak to the children, they talk to them, because there's no worse predicament than for a child to ever have to make a choice, because they know no matter what they do, they've hurt somebody, and that's not the way it is. It's in the best interest of the child and of the family that there should be adequate time sharing with both parents, because Florida has determined by statute and by case law that it's in the best interest of the children to have two parents. They need to both be actively involved. They both need to be doing things with the child on a regular basis. Weekend dads are no good. You need to have somebody who's involved every day from whatever aspect you can accommodate one another to allow the child to have access to both of you equally. Even though you're living under separate roofs, it's so important that they have two parents and two actively involved parents, because you're supposed to co-parent even though you get divorced. I know it's difficult, especially if you cannot stand your former spouse and you loathe her or loathe him with every breath they take, but the reality is you have a child together, and it's important that you get past your loathing and do it for your children. It's just that simple. You got to get over it.
Your first reaction with fear and any type of anxiety is to get, I know for me, is that I have to really work diligently, not to get myself feel like I'm backed into a corner and then come out scrapping. And I think a lot of people, their first reaction is revenge. How am I going to, I'll get her before she gets me. You know what I mean? And that whole mindset has to be changed.
Well, I don't know that there's a guy out there that you haven't talked to that went through a divorce, that the words "I got screwed" don't come out of his mouth. I mean, I got screwed by divorce. She screwed me. And that's just the words that come out of their mouth. And there's a lot of women that say the same thing. My husband screwed me. I can't believe I didn't get this or I didn't get that. And the reality is that's why I really I promote mediation. I promote resolution rather than litigation, because when people engage in the process of resolving their dispute and they sit down and they do it collectively through a mediator and they reach an agreement that they can live with, more often than not they feel less screwed. They feel as though they participated in it rather than the judge or somebody else ramming it down their throat.
Well, I think the closure end of this thing too, the personal closure end of it. Yeah, you still might have your emotions and your feelings, but the closure is going to be a lot better than just that whacking sting of a judge saying X, Y, Z.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get to work it.
You get to participate in the resolution. And so at the end of the day, when somebody says, well, what do you mean you got screwed? You were the one who helped draft the agreement. You didn't have to agree to that.
Correct.
And it's important that you do participate. You don't just say whatever, because that's what happens a lot of times too. people just, you're in the middle of a mediation, you've been there for 3 hours, you've been trying to resolve stuff, and one of the parties just kind of throws up their hand and say, whatever, I'll just give me the paper, And that's not really in your best interest. That's not doing yourself a service or your children a service. You really need to look at this and stay focused on what's in everybody's best interest, and it's very difficult.
When we start looking at the big picture of the marital assets, and we start looking at the big picture of sitting down for 3 or 4 or 5 hours in mediation, this isn't. I'm amazed. I really am. We have one hell of a party at the beginning. We, have bands. We're in the church. It's unbelievable, and then at the end, unfortunately, when it comes to an end, if it comes to an end, now we're all ready to kill each other and set each other on fire. And the end result is that if you just took the same approach that you took when you first, even though you might not love the person, you might not be in love with the person anymore, but they're the mother of your child or the husband of your child, and now you've taken a different approach on the back end. You might want to take a look at it maybe like, hey, listen, it was not great at the end, but it was what it was, and let's, make this as healthy as possible for everybody. And I agree with the kids most of all, but for yourselves. Hey, listen, if you're at each other's throats every day and you can eliminate that and start out a new life on a new slate with making, the amends through that process, because I can see mediation being like a very healthy way of dealing with some of the issues. I don't want to call it counseling, but at the same time, it's at the end of that mediation, you're really going to be able to feel better about both parties.
Well, it's an informal process, and unless it becomes a venting fest, it's a very healthy way for people to kind of get across where they're coming from.
Right.
And a lot of times, it's the first opportunity after the divorce is filed that people actually come to the table and express what it is they want. Because a lot of times people don't say what it is that they want, and it's very important that we do that. I can't tell you how many times a spouse will come into me, a male or female, and I will say, is your spouse a good husband, or is your spouse a good mom? And more often than not, the response is he or she is a very good mom or dad. We just cannot get along, and I'm done with him. And unfortunately, because of the problems that the parent has with the other spouse, the children or the child gets kind of wrapped up into all that, and that's the problem. Because when they tell me at the get-go, he's a good parent, she's a good parent, it's hard. Then I'm saying, why are you trying to involve all of this other nonsense? Deal with the equity issues, and then we'll deal with the child issues separately, because that's the most important thing.
When you hear of, I'll bring it up because I think it's part of the animal, when you start to talk about adultery and you start to talk about, the marriage hasn't come to an end yet.
Well, that's a very difficult subject because a lot of people don't understand in Florida, adultery is not a basis for a divorce. I'm saying it's from a legal perspective. It has no bearing in the divorce how many adulterous affairs you've had, as long as from an equitable distribution perspective, as long as you're not spending money on these girlfriends or boyfriends, there's really no difference with respect to you're going to get more or less out of the divorce. Now, if a person is philandering and is bringing these relationships into the actual marital home or exposing the minor children to this type of activity, of course that's going to directly affect the child time-sharing arrangements and or the actual visitation that you're allowed. But from a monetary perspective, and women get so upset with that. He's out screwing half the town, and I have to do this. This is all I'm going to get, and it's very difficult for them to kind of come to grips with that.
The acceptance of it. Well, here staying on the topic of adultery, at the same token, does it play into the children end of it, even though maybe somebody isn't bringing it into the household, but does it play into the mind of the judge making the final decision on where the kids are going to go?
Well, again, it's one of those things where if there is testimony and evidence before the court that the extramarital affairs has become known to the minor children or has impacted those children in some way, yes, it's going to have some sort of a factor in the decision as to the time sharing that the philandering spouse would be allowed. But more often than not, how is the child going to find that out? If mom is telling Junior, your dad is sleeping with blah, 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 again, now the mom has compounded the problem by actually involving the child in the litigation, involving the child in a piece of information that the child should never be privy to, regardless of how upset you are with your spouse or with your former spouse. You should not be involving them in these types of details because the reality,
adult situation.
Yeah, it's going to impact them for the rest of their lives, and it shouldn't be something that they should know of. Now, at the same time, if mom and dad are separated and dad's got a girlfriend and he's living with a girlfriend and they've been separated for a period of time, that's not going to have a dramatic impact in time sharing. But if dad has a different girl in and out of the house every night, and Trixie's walking around half naked in the house in front of the 4 or 5-year-old kid, it's going to be problematic. But again, these are all factual situations, and a lot of it you have to understand that you need to kind of deal with them case by case.
I'm glad that you brought that aspect up because I have a friend of mine who's up in New York, and I know it's a little bit different probably, but it's
very similar.
It was very amazing because he's going through this process right now, and what they had done was in mediation. They went through mediation, and what they did was in mediation they told him, listen, he had a new girlfriend. And they said that his son, who's 5 years old, was not allowed to be around a new girlfriend for a period of a year. So if the relationship was still there a year from now, then what would happen is they could then have, they could bring the girlfriend into the situation. Very, very unusual, or is that common?
Well, you figure if there's a time-sharing agreement, let's just say, for instance, you have a 50-50 time-sharing arrangement, and you have the child every other weekend and you have the child for a percentage of time during the week, you should be able to schedule your social calendar around your dates and to make sure that you're spending the time with your child, that you need to be spending with. Having said that, I think what the court or what people are trying to make sure of is that the relationship is a real relationship, and that the child isn't going to be exposed to a number of people, get attached, start forming some sort of bond or relationship with that new either boyfriend or girlfriend, only to have that relationship disintegrate, and then the child is now had to see the parent go through it with their mom and dad, now with a series of girlfriends or boyfriends, and it becomes problematic. That's what they're trying to do. Now, the flip side of it is there's always a question in everybody's mind whether mom is trying to rule from the grave, as they say. She's no longer in the relationship, but she wants to make sure that he doesn't date anybody else. Or dads do that too. I don't want her living with anybody else. She's not allowed to have boyfriends sleep over. Blah blah blah. Is that appropriate? Again, it's all factual. If the kids are teenagers and it's not, and it's a long-term relationship, no, it's not. It shouldn't be a big deal. If it's mom or dad is sleeping around all the time, yeah, it's a big deal, and it's something that needs to be addressed, and it needs to be, out of the eye shot of young minds that are very impressionable.
I love and I look at the state, the state government as a whole, okay, and the legal end of this, because I think as we started to progress over time and have dealt with over time, different legal family issues that we've kind of started to look at it from the emotional level of the child. So that's why the laws have really started to be geared towards, is there children involved here?
Well, we're looking at it from the children perspective, John, but we're also looking at it from a completely different society makeup. You look at the nuclear family, it doesn't exist anymore.
No.
We don't have mom, dad, and 2 kids and a dog and a cat anymore. We have a mom and a boyfriend, with kids, and they have their kids from a former relationship or marriage, some of which are children that were from a marriage, some are children that were from simply relationships. So the dynamics in today's society are completely different than they were, say, the 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Do you think that's changed our overall makeup?
Well, I think unfortunately, you don't want to come across as too puritanical and too right-wing that we need to have this and that. But I think it's important that if you look at society and you say, little statistics like families that have dinner together more than so many nights a week typically stay together. It's one of those things that it's important that you focus on some of those things. I mean, I think family's important. I waited a long time before I started my family because I knew I wasn't ready.
You're selling you.
Exactly. I mean, and I probably waited a lot. But so did my wife. Neither one of us had been married before, and then even after we got married, we waited many years before we actually had kids. So it's one of those things that you have to kind of look at. These kids are 17, 18 years old. They're having kids. Some are married. Some are out of wedlock. How do they have a chance from the get-go? They don't understand all of this. They probably won't understand all this until they're in their 30s or 40s. So it's a really difficult situation.
It's funny you say that because, of course, everybody knows that, my father had passed away in December. And it wasn't after, and he was divorced. Him and my mother were divorced when I was about 7. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I really was up there after the death and going through the house and cleaning stuff out with my brothers that I started to really see his pain. Mm-hmm. And to see some of the issues of everything. So you really don't, and I was 40, I'm 44 years old. So it took me 44 years to really understand the dynamics of it. Mm-hmm. For many years, I just didn't care. You know what I mean? I said I didn't care. But in the meantime, when I finally seen it, then I could feel the pain of it. I could feel his pain, and now I can see her pain, too. So you can see both sides of it. What I'm going to do is go out to a break right now because we need to take one of those.
And when we come back, I want to talk about real-life divorces versus celebrity divorces because that's what people look at. They think that, they're dealing with the Arnolds and the Marias, and that's not a realistic situation. And we'll talk more about that when we get back. I think it's kind of common.
That should be some fun. We'll be back right after this message.
Attention, the 4th annual 12-Step Music Fest is coming November 3rd through the 6th in Sugarloaf Key, Florida. 4 days of music and fun with 12 musical acts along with the Rockers in Recovery Supergroup featuring Ricky Byrd, guitarist formerly of Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, Liberty DeVito, formerly of Billy Joel, Woody Geisman of the Del Fuegos, Kason Sultan of Todd Rundgren and Utopia, Christine Ullman of the Saturday Night Live Band, and 4 more to be announced by September. Find out more about this sober Woodstock in Sugarloaf Key by joining rockersinrecovery.com or by calling 877-799-8773.
Are you ready to explode your business? Then you are ready to take advantage of the massive marketing power of the Holistic Lifestyles Radio Network. Advertise your business, product, or service with one of the most powerful multimedia platforms on the planet. With more than 300,000 online listeners, 30 social media outlets, and a booming 15 hours of live programming on South Florida's 50,000-watt mega giant, AM 1470 WNN. Your business will be exposed to hundreds of thousands of active, progressive consumers hungry for your products and services. You'll be featured on blogs, live streams, social media, at live events, and on hundreds of archived podcasts, including Rockers in Recovery, the East Coast music scene, Defending Your Money, and dozens more. Plus, prime-time national exposure during major festivals from Las Vegas to Boston and the Florida Keys. Get ready to take your business to the next level and jumpstart your branding strategy. Advertise your events, products, and services on the Holistic Lifestyles Radio Network. Call now for special discounted packages. 877-799-8773. That's 877-799-8773. Or visit HolisticLifestylesRadio.com.
My name is Charles Bechert. If you or a loved one has been injured in an accident due to the negligence of another, care enough to hire Bechert Associates to protect your rights. We are an AV-rated law firm and have 45 years of combined experience. We are all former prosecutors and have all worked for the insurance companies, so we know what they're up to. They have their attorneys, and so should you. When involved in an accident, remember, you may be entitled to $10,000 in medical or lost wages under your PIP policy. In addition, you may receive payments for your pain, suffering, or for the suffering of a loved one. Contact us at 954-941-8363 or visit us on the web at southfloridaattorney.com.
The hiring of an attorney is an important decision that should not be based solely upon advertising. Ask for free written information about the firm's qualifications and experience.
Free concert, Rockers in Recovery Memorial Day Weekend Concert, May 28th, 1:30 to 6:30 p.m. Beastie Bird, guitarist of the NYC Hit Squad and formerly of Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, along with Kasem Sultan, bassist of Todd Rundgren and Utopia, Mick Jagger and Celine Dion, along with 3 other great bands, Johnny B and the Road Dogs, Keep Coming Back Band, and Rhetoric. Come out and join us at the First Step Sober House Memorial Day Free Concert at 450 Southwest 2nd Street, Pompano Beach. To find out more, go to rockersinrecovery.com or call 877-799-8773.
You are listening to the Holistic Lifestyles Radio Show, brought to you by Holistic Lifestyles Radio Incorporated. For more information about the show and our sponsors, be sure to visit our website, HolisticLifestylesRadio.com. That's HolisticLifestylesRadio.com. Now back to today's show.
Hey, we're on. And, of course, John Hollis, and we're hanging out today with Trip Bechert. And Trip Bechert is with Bechert Associates. It's Charles Bechert. And, of course, Trip has been around a long time, and we can check out Trip at PompanoAttorney.com and SouthFloridaAttorney.com. And Trip is the South Florida attorney. So let's talk about, we've been talking up until this point about a lot of different things in areas of different law, and we, of course, spent the second part of the segment here on 1470 AM talking about, of course, the infidelity and the marriage breaking up and mediation and all of that great stuff. And when we went to break, he brought something up that was very, very crucial. When you look at television and you see the Maria Shrivers and the Arnold Schwarzeneggers and Charlie Sheens and all of the people going through all of their breakups on national TV, and everybody thinks that their litigation is going to be the same or their legal outcomes are going to be the same. What's the deal with that?
Well, somebody comes to me for a divorce, and they have limited income, limited means. You're talking about a reasonable retainer, and you're talking about a reasonable hourly rate. You go to a celebrity client walks into my office, and of course the rates would change exponentially, because not only just because of what it is that he can afford to pay, but it's because the amount of work that's going to be required to do these things. And these guys walk in, they drop $500,000 on a lawyer to litigate their dissolution, and they're doing so from a myriad of perspectives, from a PR perspective, from damage control to preserving assets, all of the things that would go into a mega marriage. But what I was alluding to originally, because you were talking about infidelity, I cannot in my wildest dreams understand how a woman would not know that her husband had fathered a child in her own household, and then claimed to be so upset about it years later. And I can only think that this was all kind of kept hush-hush only because he was still in office at the time, and that's when it broke, and because she comes from a political family, it didn't want to, and all that stuff. But it's just not realistic. Some of these things are just so incredulous. They lack credibility.
Well,
go ahead.
I'm holding back as far as laughter is concerned because I just can't. I'm sitting dumbfounded in front of the TV at night going, how would you not know? How would you not know? I look at Melanie, I'm like, would you not? I would know in a minute. You know what I mean? Every woman has that, that uncanny ability to have that radar.
It's not just between you and your spouse. It's the rumor mill is going to catch you somehow. I mean, These things get out. I mean, I don't care how many handlers you have around. It's going to get back to you somehow.
10 years.
Yeah, 10 years. I mean, come on. I just find it kind of bogus. But
have you seen her?
Yeah, well, hey, look, that's his cup of tea. What are you going to do?
I'm not talking about. Well, I would never go there, Trent.
Well, but what we were talking about is, you have the normal, everyday folks that are in the country trying to make a living, trying to get through the daily struggles of life, and they're looking at TV and those divorces that are going on, and they think that their divorce is going to be like their divorce, and it's not. Florida has a very straightforward family law set of rules. The equitable distribution is fairly clear. The time sharing arrangements are fairly clear. Absent some sort of psychological or drug addiction or basis or child abuse, where the parent should not or could not be a caregiver for the child. There's really no reason why there should be a strong deviation from that. But a lot of times, one or two of the parents would be seeking to erode time sharing or to gain time sharing simply to alter the time, the amount of child support that they would have to pay, because it all comes down to money. And because of the time sharing arrangements and the way that child support guidelines are calculated today, that's really not so much of a factor anymore, because it doesn't alter the amount that a person has to pay regardless of the amount of time that they spend. So it's really important that they do that. But again, like we talked at the top half of the hour, write down questions, shoot us an email, or just simply call and make an appointment, and we'll be happy to sit down with you and go over these type of things and try to help you through your problems before they actually get worse.
If you're in recovery or you're coming into recovery and you have that, and Tripp was talking to the general population, I'm now going to talk to the people in the recovery aspect, because when you come in and you're in fear and you have that, cannabis ticket hanging over your head, or you got the DUI
warrant,
outstanding warrant, and all of those things that are, lingering over your head, you need to be able to take care of those things. It's going to free you up to, of course, have a better recovery.
Who wants to hear the door knock every time you got a warrant?
Absolutely. I mean, it's crazy.
Who's at the door?
Who's there now? So here's the good news, folks. The good news is that you can recover, and you can have a pretty good recovery, but you need to have that. You need to clean up the wreckage. So
start taking steps. I mean, nobody's asking you to do it overnight.
Absolutely.
And nobody expects you to do it overnight. But I think what people expect is that you start making progress. Take a little step every day. Before you know it, you're going to turn around and say, wow, I made progress.
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool. I made progress. First time in how many years I made progress?
People see that too.
They do.
But most importantly, we see it and we get to sleep at night because of it.
Yeah.
So here's the good news, folks. If you're listening today and you have an issue, John at rockersandrecovery.com, send it over to us. Let us know what your legal issue is, and I'll forward it on the Tripp. At the same time, we'll also talk about it on the air. Don't use your name. Just send it over, and, of course, we'll get it answered for you. You can also call Tripp at
954-941-8363, or you can just simply look us up on the web. It's got all of the contact information, phone numbers, email addresses, and the like at southfloridaattorney.com, or again, 954-941-8363. Walk-ins are welcome. We're right on Atlantic Boulevard, 901 East Atlantic in Pompano. We'd love to see you. Love to help you out.
All right, and don't forget, May 28th, right here in Pompano Beach, 450 Southwest 2nd Street, a free concert, free food. Concert and the music is put on by Rockers in Recovery. Of course, other end of that, the food end of it, we want to thank Miami Subs and Grill for sponsoring all of the food for free at this concert, May 28th. So it is going to be free food all day, and we want to thank them. And most importantly, have you come on out, check out Ricky Byrd, Kazim Sultan, Richie Supa, and they're going to be playing, and 5 other bands. You can go to rockersandrecovery.com and find out more information.
Good to see you. Thanks again.
Thank you for listening to the Holistic Lifestyles Radio Show. This program is sponsored by Holistic Lifestyles Radio Incorporated. Join us every day right here on AM 1470 WNN. You can also find us on our Twitter podcast, Facebook, and blogtalkradio.com. For more information about the show and our sponsors, be sure to visit our website, holisticlifestylesradio.com. That's holisticlifestylesradio.com. All broadcast rights to this program are the property of Holistic Lifestyles Radio Incorporated. Broadcast of any portion of this program without express written consent is prohibited. The opinions expressed on this sponsored program are strictly those of hostess and callers and are not necessarily those of this station, staff, management, or sponsors. The preceding program is a Rockers in Recovery radio production. Rights to this program are the sole rights of Rockers in Recovery Radio Incorporated. Rebroadcast of this program in any form without express written consent is prohibited.
Here's hoping you're healthy and wealthy. South Florida's Health and Wealth Radio Network. AM 1470 WWNN, Pompano Beach.
AM 1470 with even more information you can use, addiction recovery, and an overall approach to your healthy lifestyle. Don't miss the Holistic Lifestyles Radio Show, Monday through Friday afternoons at 2, Saturdays from 4 to 6, and Sundays from 9 to 11, only on South Florida's Health and Wealth Network. AM 1470 with even more information you can use. Join pharmacist and educator Jerry Hickey for the Invite Health Radio Show at a new time, Monday through Friday mornings at 10 a.m. Tune in for the latest information on nutrition and cutting-edge solutions to your most pressing health problems. It's the Invite Health Radio Show with pharmacist and educator Jerry Hickey at a new time, Monday through Friday mornings at 10 a.m. right here on AM 1470 WNN, South Florida's all-new Health and Wealth Network.
This is Steve Kane with an important message for diabetic patients. Medicare rules have been changed this year, creating mass confusion, causing you to spend more money out of your pocket than you have to. Don't be fooled by deceptive ads from the chain pharmacies promising low copays and simplified testing. But one thing you must remember, there's no company, no matter how large, that can beat the low cost you'll find at Pro Medical East Medical Supply. The home delivery option alone will save you up to $200. Pro Medical East Medical Supply accepts most national and regional insurance plans in Florida, and including, of course, Medicare and Medicaid. And if you're not insured, they'll get your medical supplies at the absolute lowest cost. Make sure you ask about the no-cost option. Call 1-888-200-2797. That's 1-888-200-2797. Tell them Steve sent you.
Each year, many women fall victim to breast cancer, and many men will contract colon cancer. However, if detected early, steps can be taken towards the prevention and treatment of these silent killers. Men, please schedule your colon screening, and women, your mammogram today. It just may save your life. This message courtesy of our good friends at Big L's Car Wash and Detailing at 17701 Northwest 20th Avenue in Miami Gardens. They are always working to keep our community moving in a positive direction.
Regular listeners to Peter Bruno's long-running daily radio show, Managing Your Money, know about his original form of research analysis called psychoanalysis. This unique system, designed to watch and analyze stock market movement behavior in advance, has guided listeners and clients safely from the market high in the 14,000 area 2 years ago all the way down to the previous lows below the Dow 6500, just as he protected his clients from the crash of 1987 and again in 2008. If you're not getting the same quality advice from your financial advisor, it's time you called Peter Bruno. Toll free anytime. Consider opening your personalized managed account or find out about the next free 90-minute seminar. The number is 1-800-592-5578. 592-5578. Call Peter Bruno anytime, 24/7. 1-800-592-5578. Benefit from the research that has forecast in advance 2 crashes. Peter Bruno. Call today. 1-800-592-5578.
What you want to know. What you need to know. This is South Florida's Health and Wealth Radio, AM 1470, WNN.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of its host, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to No Bones About It with Dr. Alvin Stein. Dr. Stein is a board-certified orthopedic surgeon and board-certified pain specialist. He focuses on acute and chronic pain reduction and elimination, as well as circulatory dysfunction. Stay tuned to learn how Dr. Stein can incorporate neurotherapy, prolotherapy, detoxification, and nutrition in the process of eliminating pain without the use of harmful drugs or surgery. His offices are located at 6766 West Sunrise Boulevard, Suite 100 in Plantation. For an appointment, call 954-581-8585. That's 954-581-8585. Or contact Dr. Stein on the Internet by visiting his website at www.proloshot.com. That's PROLOSHOT.com. Your comments and questions are welcome during today's program. Call us toll-free, 888-565-1470. That's 888-565-1470. And now, here's Dr. Alvin Stein.
Good morning. Welcome to today's show. We are here today on Tuesday morning, May 17th, 2011. It is 11:03 in the morning. And if you're listening to the show on Tuesday morning, May 17th at 11:03 in the morning, this show is live in the studio. The telephone number in the studio to call us on the air and to join the show is 1-888-565-1470. Telephone number in the office to get me off the air to ask questions in the office or make an appointment is 954-581-8585, 954-581-8585. I ask you to make a note of that number because you never know when you need it. I've had several people who have remembered to make a note of that number and have come in several months later. I welcome you to be in the office to see if I can't help you. Again, once more time, 954-581-8585. My topics deal with pain, various types of pain in the body. Skeletal muscular pain, of course, everybody recognizes that as your bones, your joints, the pain that's associated with injuries or deterioration in those areas. Other areas that are considered part of pain are abdominal pain, pain in the urological area, psychological pain. We don't often think of that as a form of pain.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.